Hi everyone in TMA 150 Public Speaking. This is Will Cush, and tonight for my argumentative speech, I will be talking about genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, and I intend to argue that they are actually a good thing for mankind as a whole. And what I've been seeing in a lot of media and internet articles and stuff is that they're really pretty harmful and a negative thing. I think that's the general feeling that's out there right now, so I'm pretty excited to argue against that claim. I just want to start with my basic argument for genetically modified organisms. First, genetically modified crops have a stronger ability to fight off pathogens, so anything that can hurt our crops. And what this does is it reduces the need for pesticides, which are things that kill bugs, and herbicides. And these, in and of themselves, can be harmful. There are other campaigns that think pesticides and herbicides are carcinogens and hurt human health. So, by using genetically modified crops, we actually reduce our need for those things. GMO fields, actually, the actual agricultural field, they require less tilling and plowing just because they grow better, they are more resistant to things, so you need less actual hand-on labor in the field. And what this does is it reduces our greenhouse emissions, so the tractors and tilling machines that are going through the fields reduce our use of those, and we save a lot on fossil fuels. GMOs can also be manipulated so they contain more nutrients than their counterparts, like organic or conventional crops. So what that means is we can add vitamins, minerals, we can add basically what we think will better the crop based on our own personal knowledge and what we think humans need. And what I think the strongest argument for GMO crop production is that GMOs actually increase the size of the crop, as I have a picture attached to this speech. They make an apple that is just GMO apple is significantly bigger than an organic apple. What that does is it alleviates hunger worldwide, basically, by giving people more food, and we're also increasing the amount of crop that comes out of a field. Now, I want to talk about the arguments against GMOs that I see all the time, and I want to refute them a little bit. So the first one, genetically engineered foods is a radical new idea, and it's a new technology, and it is a little too early to know exactly what this means for our culture. Something I heard a lot when I was doing my research for this. And I disagree completely. We as humans have been manipulating the genes of crops for centuries, as far back as like cross-pollination, or when we're selecting one crop because it has better yield or better taste, we selected that crop to be reproduced. We made more of them. It's the same thing with like sheep or cattle or any sort of livestock. We choose the ones that are the best for us, and we try to keep their genes in the gene pool. So we make more of them, and in a way we are doing genetic modification in that way. While what we do to make what we call modern GMOs are different, we actually look at the DNA and we add things into the DNA. The idea is still basically the same. We're selecting the crops with the better DNA, and we're choosing them to reproduce, and we're just adding a little more to the step. Also, I don't believe the argument that GMO production is new really makes any sense, because we have had commercially available GMO plants since 1994. So it's new in terms of human culture, but it's not new in terms of scientific exploration. We've done quite a bit in that regard. Since 1994, more than 1,700 peer-review safety studies have been published, and the general scientific consensus, according to the Popular Science article I found, is that existing GMOs are no more or less risky than traditional crops. Again, that was from Popular Science. So take a look at the second issue that I found with GMOs. I found a lot of things about GMOs causing health concerns like new allergies and cancer. I just want to say that it is absolutely theoretically possible that when you introduce a new gene into our food chain, you could basically cause an immune response in certain people. So, when you eat a new food, it's just like anything. If you haven't eaten shrimp before, you eat shrimp, there's a chance that you're allergic to it. Same thing with GMOs. If you eat a new GMO, has a new gene in it, you could have an immune response to it. And I guess the same could kind of be said about cancer. When you change the foods that you're putting in your body, bad things can happen. What I would say to refute this is that the FDA, or the Federal Drug Administration, they have every right to block new products from the market when they're found to be potentially hazardous or toxic. And the standard practice is that when a new product is becoming available, when it's found, the biotech company that actually found that product, they will consult with the FDA, and the FDA will perform toxicity tests that are designed to discover whether or not this new product is safe for human consumption. And once that the testing is deemed extensive by our federal government, then if that product is found safe, they will introduce it into the market. So I really feel like our government is doing quite a bit to alleviate our concerns, to make us aware that the products introduced into the market have been tested and, by the standard of our government, are safe for human consumption. Another thing is our body is designed to break down nutrients and absorb them properly. We are pretty resilient structures as humans, and DNA from a GMO is not really currently known to behave any differently than DNA from conventional foods. So what we do is we break down the proteins and the carbohydrates, and we address them accordingly. And there is really no known difference between the nutrients from a GMO that come into our body and from a non-GMO organization. Another good argument that I heard against GMOs was that GMO genes can spread to other crops and upset the ecosystem, basically. So I guess the idea would be if a farmer had a huge crop of organic corn, he wouldn't want another farmer to put a GMO cornfield next to it because he feels like the genes could cross-pollinate, and then you'd end up with these half organic, half GMO crops, basically. And it does happen. Cross-pollination can happen from any kind of plants. But I don't really see any reason that this is harmful to human health or the health of the ecosystem. In general, the survival of a new species is largely dependent on their ability to survive in their new environment. That's to do with species like human beings and monkeys, cows, and any kind of animal. And we're talking vegetables, fruits. Basically, they survive if they flourish in their natural environment. And by that logic, I think that new plants that are not suited for their natural environment will die off, and plants that are better suited will survive. So basically what I mean is, if there's a new version of crop that grows more efficiently, provides us with more food, is more nutrient dense, then as human beings we will select that crop to survive, and that's just a natural process. It doesn't necessarily upset the ecosystem, it's just kind of evolution in a way. Alright, now I want to go into my opinion a little bit. I really believe that the GMO, non-GMO thing is something that's always going to have two sides of the fence, and there are always going to be people on one side saying that here's the reasons they can potentially be harmful. It's new genes, they can disrupt the ecosystem. And there are always going to be people on the other side of the fence saying, we've tested these things, we, with reasonable doubt, know what we're doing, we know that they're healthy, and we feel confident introducing them into our diet. And I don't think it's something we will fully know the answer to until centuries and centuries in advance. But on the whole, I do believe that our federal government and the FDA have our best health interests in mind. So I do believe that if a harmful substance was found, it would be weeded out as quickly as possible. We try to eliminate it. So with all that being said, I really think that the benefits of GMO crops, being able to feed more people, having more nutrients, those address more pressing issues like world hunger. And the negatives, they can be addressed when they come, and I think we're on the right path to doing so. So my belief really is that GMOs are a good thing for society, and that we should continue with the production of GMOs. Thanks, guys.